The term be present gets thrown around a lot. And I think people know what it means, but don't exactly know how to implement it. We know that we should be present, that we shouldn't be anxious about what's going to happen in the future or guilty or shameful over what's happened in the past. But that still doesn't explain how to be present. It explains how not to be present, but not what being present actually is. And the reason that being present is such a lacking aspect of our lives is not just due to our decisions or our choices. It's baked into society. It's expected of you to deliver and deliver quickly. So we constantly are bouncing between one task to the next in this mad rush to get things done. We feel like we have no time because we are trying to maximize output. We live in a capitalist society. So naturally, we are going to look to optimize not just our work, but ourselves. We're going to look to make ourselves as efficient as possible to maximize production so that we are seen as valuable. But what happens when you do that to a human, when you live in that way, you become more like machine than you do like human. And you're no longer doing something because it's what you want to do or what you enjoy doing. It's stripping all of that emotion out of it and just looking for volume, looking to make the most and do the most, achieve the most. It's all about more, and not about what is happening in that moment. And everything has gone like this in the West. For instance, you could pay obviously a lot more money than you would have done back in the day for a house, but you're not even getting the same quality of house. If you look at the wood quality of the new builds, it's all trees that have been rushed. They've been growing for 2-3 years and genetically modified in order to produce wood quickly, but this makes the quality terrible. But they don't care, because as long as they are building houses and selling them, that's what matters. Profit is what matters. And if something doesn't last as long, then great, because then they can build it again and charge you again. And they make more money. Making something to last a long time has long gone out the window. Shoes, clothes, all of these kinds of things, they're all made to degrade quickly, to be disposed of. We are meant to cycle through things to keep us purchasing. And this has sort of ingrained itself into our psyche. It's changed the way that we choose to see the world and live life. Because we now think we need to buy more things. That means we need to work harder. We need to have more money. We need all of these things in order to keep up this habit. It works retrospectively. As much as things are being cycled quicker and things don't last as long, that means you need to buy more, which means you need to devote more time to working and producing profit for big companies so that you can afford the same things of less quality that you could way back when. And unfortunately, it has robbed us of enjoyment and doing things because it makes us feel good, or because we enjoy doing them. And all of that has then sort of stripped away, so that we are just continuously rushing to our grave, rushing through every day, trying to get to the next thing, trying to achieve the next goal or get the next thing. And once we get it, we're not satisfied, we move on immediately to the next thing. But that's not life. And it's definitely not being present, because being present requires intention, and intention takes time. If you are going to do something and you want to do it well and be intentional, let's say cooking, for instance. My way of cooking is the unhealthy way. It's I'm going to quickly slap up a meal between doing things and try and make it as fast as possible in order to just give myself sustenance so I can carry on doing the other stuff that I need to do. I'm not carefully preparing and making sure that I'm putting love and intention into the food, taking my time to be precise while chopping the vegetables, giving the meat time to marinate in its seasoning and sauces, and cooking things gently and over a long period of time so they can become tender and soft. Instead, I'm more slap it on, max heat, cook it. If it ends up a bit burnt at the end, then who cares? I'm just going to eat it and then crack on with what I'm doing. And that is a perfect example of a lack of intention and a lack of presence. I'm not present while I'm cooking. I'm just trying to do it as quickly as possible so I can feed myself and carry on doing what I was doing before or get on to the next task. But if you taste the food of somebody who has cooked it with love and taken their time to make it a delicious meal, hasn't rushed it, they've done everything as it was meant to be done in the right timing, they haven't stressed over it or got all hot and bothered trying to rush and get it done. They've just done it nicely. The food tastes so much better. It's so enjoyable to make like that. It's a process that you can enjoy. For instance, if you look at sushi chefs in Japan, they are the perfect example of intentional cooks. Everything they do is so precise, and they really take their time doing everything. And this is why sushi tends to be more expensive, because it requires more time. The same way if I was to get a artisan chair, that would be more expensive, because the craftsman has not just slapped it through a machine and spat out a chair. They have taken their time to make things perfect and beautiful, and they have crafted something that was important to them and that they enjoyed doing. They put real love and care into what they were doing. And that has sort of been robbed from us. It's been taken away because we can't enjoy what we're doing. We can't take our time to get something right or take our time to make something beautiful, because beautiful or love isn't seen as a commodity. It's not seen as something that is commercially viable. It's just seen as something unnecessary. And now, when you are building a house or a building, it's all about how quickly they can build them. And that's why all of the houses look the same, because they're just taking a template. There's 4 or 5 companies just slapping out houses and trying to churn them up as quickly as possible, because they're not getting paid to make them look nice or take time with each house and make every individual property have character and uniqueness. That's not what they're going for. They're going for, how can I make the very most money out of this land? And if I'm going to do that, I'm going to make cheap properties, build them as quickly as possible, sell them, and move on to the next thing. And even in the corporate world, for instance, if you want to take your time and do something properly or present it in a really nice way, let's say you were doing a spreadsheet. I might take time to format it and make it really presentable and color code it and all this kind of stuff. But with the constant rise of pressure to deliver fast, you are going to have to cut corners. You're going to have to skip parts if that's the presentation. That's going to be the first things to go, the aesthetics, because it's deemed as unnecessary. They don't care if it's ugly, they care if it works and if it's going to be accurate and make them money. If you do it inaccurately, then that could cost them money, so they're not going to want that. But as long as you give them the bare minimum that they can then deliver to their client or meet their objective with, then that's what they want. That's what they're going to do. They don't care about your satisfaction. They don't care if you enjoyed doing it. All they care about is their profit. And when that becomes the central motivator, then all of the other stuff is seen as non-essential. And unfortunately, this has seeped into every fibre of our being. Our minds are rewired to now view the world in this way, that our needs, our satisfaction, our enjoyment, our fulfillment, these are surplus to requirement. They're non-essential, not important. And unfortunately, many of us fall into the trap of believing the market value of what we do as being our value. We are only as valuable as we are productive or lucrative or profitable. And that may be a fantastic way to run a business where the main goal of a business is to earn money, but it's a terrible way to live. And the more we can rewire and reprogram our brains to adopt the natural state, to enjoy doing things, to sit down and enjoy your food, enjoy every bite, taste the flavors, enjoy the meal, and not just rush through it into the next thing. Enjoy making the food. Enjoy when you're doing your work, take your time and enjoy doing it. And it may not be possible at work, for instance, and there may be few areas in your life where it is possible, but finding those areas and optimizing your life as much as possible to add intention into every little thing you do. And it may be that you have to change your life radically in order to adopt this. I mean, if you're stuck in that kind of world where this is demanded from you and this is expected of you, then it's going to be very hard to do this. It's going to be hard to be present because you're not going to have much time to do so. Because this way of living impacts everything you do in the day. You wake up and you think, I have to get ready. I have to rush and go to work. So you rush through your shower, you rush to brush your teeth, you rush your breakfast, you get on the train's late, you then rush to work, you go to work, you try and do as much as possible because you've got deadlines, and then you come home and it's late, and then you've got to rush to the gym, rush back, rush through dinner, just so that you can get 30 minutes to sit down and decompress, and then by then you've got 1,000 other things to do, or you've got chores or kids to look after or whatever else. And it just feels like we have no time. And you will feel like that until you strip those things that are making you feel like that away from you. It requires a change of lifestyle. And that change of lifestyle is probably going to cost you everything. This means that you have to do everything differently. It's going to affect how you earn money. It's going to affect how you prioritize. It's going to affect how you go about doing what needs to be done. Because at the end of the day, you've still got to pay for your needs and requirements. You've still got to feed and clothe yourself and feed your family. You've still got to do the chores. You've still got to do all of that other kind of life stuff that tends to crop up. Because we're not meant to live like this. I mean, if you compare your life with a farmer 300 years ago, the difference is just alien. That's it. You would be alien to each other. I mean, I think you would be able to understand them better than they would be able to understand you, but they would look at you like you were mental. And it's such a peculiar way of going about life. This life that we are forced into by society, because they would get up when they needed to, either at sunrise or just before, and go about their day. They would eat their breakfast and do their chores, and of course they would work hard. They were hard-working people. And this isn't about being lazy, but they were intentional people. And they weren't rushing about trying to do everything because they were just doing what needed to be done. And we have so much unnecessary things in our life that we have to upkeep and maintain that it just causes us undue stress. There's so much to do, so much to have to maintain and uphold, and all of this stuff that's either legal requirement or just a requirement of your job or a requirement of living in the modern world. And it creates this bubble where we believe that that is life, that all of this stuff that we do, making car payments, insurance, tax, going to work, we think that's life, but that's all made up. None of that is really real. It's just real to us because we're experiencing it. But that isn't how we are meant to be living, and it's not how we've lived throughout history. This is a modern day problem. We have so much comfort, so much distraction, and so much obligation and responsibility, and not really real responsibility, but responsibility that is kind of thrust upon us. Things that we just have to do, and things that we believe we have to do. But there is a different way to live, and there is no right way to live. It's up to you. But when you truly get down to trying to be present and doing the spiritual work, you realize that being spiritual and fully embodying that and living in the modern society, they are almost opposed to each other. They are almost on the opposite ends of the spectrum, or they are. And this is why religious people, like monks or nuns, people that are truly dedicated to it, take themselves away. They live in monasteries because it isolates them in a way that allows them to focus on things that matter. Being intentional, being and looking after your spiritual health. And it's not a life of crazy luxury or very chaotic or very exciting and thrilling. It's something quieter, more peaceful, but far more present. So if you are wondering why you are struggling to be present or to be more intentional, there is a certain responsibility you have to do that and to make sure that you're trying your best and doing what you can to own that in your life. But there is also a huge societal and environmental issue that prevents you from doing so. And accepting that you might have to change everything about your life if that is what you truly want is a part of the process. And I have come to the decision that that's not what I want. And it's not a world or a society that I want to bring my kids up in. I don't want to teach them to be everything that is the antithesis of who they naturally are. And if that is to be the case, then we have to build something different. Thank you for listening.